Have you ever met someone who, despite being naturally quiet or even shy, always seems to say exactly the right thing? They don't dominate conversations, they don't seek the spotlight, but when they speak, everyone listens. Their words are precise, impactful, and always land perfectly. I recently had the chance to sit down with one such individual, a man they call the lazy, shy communicator. He's not a charismatic public speaker or a social butterfly. In fact, he admits to being naturally introverted, yet he navigates complex social situations, delivers compelling arguments, and builds strong connections with an effortless grace that defies his quiet nature. He agreed to share his methods, but with a condition. I had to promise to reveal them to only those truly ready for an unfair advantage. He believes these insights are too simple, too powerful, and frankly, too unfair for the average person to handle. But after hearing his answers, I knew I couldn't keep this to myself. This information is the unfair advantage we've all been looking for. So I'm publishing it. And I'll probably regret this. Pay close attention to all 5 answers, but especially the last one. Question number 5 reveals the single biggest secret he uses to always say the right thing. It changes the entire game. Most people believe that to communicate effectively, especially if you're shy, you need to be outgoing, charismatic, and always have something clever to say. They spend hours practicing witty comebacks or trying to force themselves into social situations. What's the biggest mistake they're making when it comes to communication?
They're treating communication like a performance, trying to be someone they're not. But genuine connection isn't about being the loudest, it's about being the most present. The biggest mistake is focusing on self-presentation rather than listener reception. When you're constantly worried about how you sound, how you look, or what others think of you, your energy is directed inward. This creates a barrier. True communication happens when you shift your focus entirely to the other person, what they're saying, what they need, how you can genuinely add value to their experience. The more you focus on the listener, the less bandwidth your brain has for self-criticism. It's the ultimate lazy hack for shyness. Outsource your anxiety by making it about them, not you.
So it's not about being a performer, but about being present and focusing on the other person. That sounds like your first rule. What is it, and how does a lazy, shy communicator apply it?
My first rule is the listener first, not self first rule. It sounds simple, but it's profoundly counterintuitive for shy people. We're wired to protect ourselves, to avoid judgment. But that self-focus is what fuels the anxiety. The lazy application is this. Before I open my mouth, I ask myself, what does the other person need from me right now? Not what do I need to say to sound smart. If someone asks me a question, I don't immediately formulate my answer. I listen, really listen. I try to understand their underlying need or curiosity. Then, my response isn't about me proving something, it's about genuinely addressing their need. This shifts my brain's energy from self-preservation to problem-solving. And when you're solving a problem for someone else, your shyness often melts away because the spotlight isn't on you anymore. It's on this solution or on them. It's the most efficient way to overcome communication anxiety because you're not fighting it. You're simply redirecting your attention.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. Focusing on the listener to overcome shyness makes perfect sense. But often when shy people do speak, they tend to ramble, use overly complex language, or get lost in details, trying to ensure they've covered every angle. How do you, a lazy, shy communicator, manage to be concise and impactful without feeling like you're leaving something out?
That's the trap of overcompensation. We think more words equal more clarity or more intelligence. But the brain isn't impressed by verbosity. It craves clarity. My second rule is the less is more and clearer rule. Most people try to fill silence, or they feel obligated to explain every nuance. I do the opposite. I embrace the power of brevity and the strategic pause. The lazy application is to simplify, simplify, simplify. Before I speak, I mentally distill my message to its absolute core. What is the single most important point I want to convey? Then I use a simple structure, like the rule of 3. If I'm asked a question, I'll give my main point, then maybe 1 or 2 supporting details, and then I stop. I don't elaborate unless prompted. I also use what I call the genius pause. After I've said my concise piece, I pause. This isn't a nervous pause, it's a confident pause. It allows my words to land, gives the listener time to process, and signals that I'm done. It forces the other person to engage if they want more information. The laziness here is that by saying less, I reduce the mental effort of constructing complex sentences, and paradoxically, my message becomes clearer and more impactful. It's about delivering a potent dose of information, not a rambling lecture. My shyness actually helps here. It makes me naturally inclined to speak less, so I just optimize that tendency for maximum impact.
That's brilliant. Focusing on the listener and embracing brevity. But what about those moments when you're caught off guard? A sudden question in a meeting, an unexpected introduction, or being asked to speak on the spot. For shy people, these unscripted moments are often the most terrifying. How do you, a lazy, shy communicator, handle the unexpected and still manage to say the right thing?
Ah, the fear of the unknown. That's where most shy people freeze. They try to predict every possible scenario, which is exhausting and impossible. My third rule is the prepare for the unprepared rule. It's not about memorizing answers. It's about having a mental toolkit to navigate any spontaneous situation with grace. The lazy application is to have a few simple frameworks ready. I don't try to predict what I'll be asked, but how I'll structure my response. For example, if I'm asked a question I haven't prepared for, I might use a simple structure like, "That's an interesting question. I see 3 main points here," or "My initial thought is X, and it's important because Y." This buys me a few seconds to organize my thoughts. Another lazy trick is to bridge. If I don't know the answer, I'll say, "That's outside my immediate expertise, but it connects to related topic I do know about in this way." Or, "I'd need to look into the specifics, but generally my approach would be," this allows me to pivot to a comfortable area without appearing flustered. The laziness comes from not having to prepare for every single possibility. Instead, I prepare a few versatile mental templates that work for any situation, reducing anxiety and ensuring I always have a coherent response, even when I'm completely unprepared for the specific question. It's about having a mental safety net, so you can relax and let your natural intelligence shine through.
These 3 rules, focusing on the listener, embracing brevity, and preparing for the unprepared, are incredibly practical and insightful, especially for someone who identifies as shy. They offer a clear path to confident communication without forcing a personality change. But for my final and most important question, after all these techniques, what is the single most powerful, ultimate secret you use to always say the right thing? What is the true cheat code that ties it all together for the lazy, shy communicator?
This is the secret that most people miss because they're too busy trying to be more of something they're not. More outgoing, more charismatic, more verbose. The ultimate cheat code isn't about becoming a different person. It's about leveraging your natural tendencies. The true power of the lazy, shy communicator comes from embracing the power of observation. Most people, especially those who love to talk, are so focused on what they're going to say next that they miss crucial information. As a naturally quieter person, I've cultivated the habit of deep observation. I listen more than I speak. I watch body language. I notice the subtle cues, the unspoken questions, the true interests of the person I'm communicating with. This isn't a technique I do. It's a state of being I cultivate. Because I'm not desperate to fill every silence, I allow myself the space to truly perceive. This observation gives me an unfair advantage. When I do speak, my words are not random. They are precisely tailored to the moment, to the person, to the unspoken need. I don't need to be witty or charismatic because my contribution is always relevant and insightful. It's the ultimate lazy hack because it requires less doing and more being. By simply observing, I gather all the data I need to say the right thing with minimal effort. My shyness isn't a weakness, it's my superpower. It forces me to listen, to think, and to choose my words with precision. The true genius isn't in talking more. It's in knowing exactly when and how to say the few things that truly matter.
There you have it. The system is simple, lazy, and it goes against everything you've ever been told about communication. That's why it works. If this knowledge helps you, do me a favor and like this video so the algorithm shares it with others who need it. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next unfair advantage. And now, I want to hear from you. Comment below and tell me, who should I interrogate next? A lazy leader? A lazy networker? You decide. See you in the next video.